It's late in the night. I was sleeping. I woke up to get some water and chill out. I actually was sleeping. I fell asleep. Let me talk quickly about this fight: Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson, as well as a fight that happened: Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce. I was supposed to talk about that fight. I think I did somewhere. Real quick, okay? Joe Joyce boxed Daniel Dubois. Excellent job jabbing him, keeping that range. Beautiful feints and movement, footwork, and the way how he circled away from his power hand, and just classy all the way through. Daniel Dubois had really no shot at beating Joe Joyce. I think Joe Joyce would have outpowered Daniel Dubois. And he was getting some combinations in, but of course, Joe Joyce's length, his reach, his height, his movement. Um, Daniel Boy was too much for Daniel Dubois. There's levels to boxing, and Daniel Boy wasn't quite ready for that level. So Joe Joyce was just working that eye, and eventually stopped Daniel Dubois because he really messed up his eye. So kudos to Joe Joyce on that. I actually was favoring Joe Joyce going into the fight, but I didn't actually make a prediction video. I was always talking about the fact that Joe Joyce rides punches very well. He's always riding with the punch. Mike McCallum. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he knows how to ride punches, and his reflex is just enough to be able to ride punches, roll punches, catch punches, etc. So what should be surprising to a lot of people is that Joe Joyce actually has very good boxing skills, and Joe Joyce actually went up in the was the World Championships, I think, against Alexander Usyk. It looks like he might be facing Usyk next, so you get a shot at Usyk again. Joe Joyce is also a very busy fighter. He leads with either hand. He can lead with his right hand. He can lead with his left hand. He does all kinds of things. I mean, he give you uppercuts on the inside. He does many different things with his boxing. So, kudos to Joe Joyce and success to him on beating Daniel Dubois. And then Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson. Okay, so if you just been looking at what Roy Jones Jr.'s strategy is against Mike Tyson's going to come at Roy Jones Jr. He's going to bob and weave, work to the inside, and rake Roy Jones Jr. body and go to the head, and the typical Mike Tyson things, right? He has nice pivot work. He cuts sharp pivots where it's necessary. Mike Tyson bends corners very well. But what do you see Roy Jones Jr. doing in his training camp is Roy Jones Jr.'s strategy is going to be either to keep Mike Tyson at bay or to keep him on the inside. Once Roy gets on the inside with Mike Tyson, he's going to clinch him up, lock him up, or he's going to tie him up. He's either going to tie him up or lock him up. I think Roy's probably going to go for the lockup. Protect his head, because Roy's going to have to protect his head throughout this fight. Otherwise, he's going to get knocked out. So, Roy Jones Jr. Versus Mike Tyson. Is it a dangerous fight for Roy Jones Jr.? Absolutely. He's been knocked out cold a couple of times by guys who don't even punch like Mike Tyson. But I think he's up for the challenge, and I just think because he's up for the challenge, he's going to bring nothing but his A game mentally, and he's working on his physique to make sure physically he has his A game. Mike Tyson probably be the fitter of the two for a certain period of time, a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, but then Roy's going to probably take over the fight after that. But Mike has been sparring, so he's been up into shape. He said it's been very, very difficult, the training. So I think he's done enough training to be able to deal with Roy somewhat. But I do think if the fight goes on for about 3-4 rounds, it's all going to be Roy Jones Jr.'s fight. If he makes it through the first 2 to 3 rounds, it's going to be a piece of cake. I think the strategy that Roy has is a good strategy. It's a good game plan, I do believe, for beating Mike Tyson. That's how most fighters beat Mike Tyson. So you got to, you just keep him out of his range, which is going to be mid to inside. You want to keep him at bay, or you got to lock him up on the inside. You shut him down on the inside, or you're going to keep him at bay. But in keeping him at bay, it's the way how Roy's going to do this. He's going to cut certain angles. He's going to do certain things that offset Mike Tyson's offense. So look for that. And Royce has some interesting combinations. I don't know if he could actually pull off some of those combinations, but once he puts those combinations together, once he puts that hand speed together, and he catches Mike Tyson with a couple of those shots. Now Tyson can get under his shots But then Roy, he uses combinational punching. He's using shots like uppercuts. He's using shots like hooks. So look for Roy to be, and Roy and Tyson are about the same height, so that works in Roy's favor. The guys that beat Mike Tyson were usually smaller guys than him. The only guy that beat him that was bigger and taller than him, I think about, is Lennox Lewis. Of course, there's the other guys after Lennox Lewis beat him, but so it kind of works in Roy's favor that he's actually the same height as Mike Tyson, because then he can also get under shots that Mike Tyson's throwing, and so on and so on. So Tyson's more of a fighter who was built to beat guys much taller than him. But we'll see how it works out with Roy and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson looks very agile, very quick, sharp, at least in spots. I don't know if he'll maintain it for the entire fight. As to Mike Tyson, being the bigger, stronger guy, should bully Roy, force him, try to hustle him, try to cramp him for space, really rush him, put the heat on him, put the pressure on him, and see how Roy's responds to that. Just put the heat on him from round one, um, and just keep on using his bobbing and weaving, the pivot work that he has, and put the heat on Roy. Me, I think that Roy's going to win this fight. I think Roy's going to win this fight by outboxing Mike Tyson. I just think that he won. These are the reasons. One is he's been boxing and he's been around boxing all the time. Mike Tyson's just picking it back up after so many years. And Mike Tyson has the drive and he has a style that can give, guys who are rangy and lengthy problems. Roy's a different kind of fighter. He approaches at different angles. He uses different things. He uses different tools. He's unorthodox. He leads with either hand. And I think that sort of equation, once Roy's up to the challenge, I think he has, I think, the better boxing IQ, the better ability to adjust. I think he has more tools in his bag. He can do more things. And from what I heard, he's now tapping back into tools he hadn't used in a long time. So all of that could play a good role in how Roy deals with Mike Tyson if I mean, when you have used tools in a while, and Mike Tyson hasn't fought in a while, so Mike Tyson's going to be the guy that's more rusty than Roy. Obviously, Mike Tyson has to get his punches in on Roy. If he can't even get the punches in on Roy, this is a fight that Roy wins, and he wins relatively easily. If Mike Tyson can get some shots on Roy, the question is, can Roy take those shots? And the other thing is, where is he going to hit Roy? If he hits Roy to the body, um, can Roy sustain a body shot? If he hits Roy to the head, depending where he hits Roy to the head, because I'm pretty sure Mike Tyson is very much aware of this. There is a setup you can do to take out Roy. The question is Roy going to play along with you and allow you to do that setup to take him out? If Roy does different things, he will. You won't be able to get that setup. So it depends. So we'll see how it all works out. Again, the perfect style to beat Roy is the peekaboo style. So, I mean, Mike Tyson very well could annihilate Roy and just knock him out cold, and that would be that. Or it could be that Roy Jones Jr. goes to a decision. I think Roy's going to rise to this occasion because it's Mike Tyson, and I think he's going to be really on his A game, and I think he's going to be up for it, and I think he's going to make it all the way. It's going to be like 8 rounds. Nobody's going to get knocked down. Nobody's going to get knocked out, but it's going to make it to 8 rounds. And Mike Tyson's going to be Mike Tyson's going to be vicious all the way through. Everybody's waiting for him to land those money punches. He's going to land something on Roy. He's definitely not going to land something on Roy. But I think he's going to be a little too rusty. I think his timing is going to be a little bit off. And Roy doesn't even have regular timing. There's all these little things that Roy brings to the table that's going to make it hard for Mike Tyson. I just think Roy's too much for Mike Tyson. I think Roy's going to win. So, contrary to popular opinion, this is just my opinion. We'll see if I'm right. Again, I always come from reasoning. I come from facts. I think about all the things, how Roy conquered different divisions, how he did. I think Mike Tyson's going to be fantastic. He may blitz Roy. He may blitz Roy. There's a possibility in that. Um, because there are ways to blitz Roy and get him out of there. But if Roy's on his A game, if Roy adds certain things to his game that he's supposed to have, he should have pivot work. He should have a decent jab. even though that's not going to be the key thing because Roy doesn't really use jabs. He uses lead right hands. He uses a variety of other things. But if he uses the correct angles, he'll offset what Mike Tyson wants to do. So, and he has this irregular rhythm to him. So, we'll see if Tyson can get Roy out of his rhythm. That is to say, Roy can't even warm up in his rhythm. But I just don't see it. And Roy's just such a, it's not just the reflexes. It's the timing of Roy. He has a different kind of timing and a different kind of way of attacking and everything. So we'll see. I mean, this is gonna be a great matchup because it's two legends, and it would tell us how they would have done with each other when they were younger. Another argument that I just want to put on the table there is Mike Tyson versus Floyd Mayweather. Now, there's a lot of things Roy does that Floyd does, and even though Floyd's defense would have been a lot better than Roy's, I just want you guys to see what a Floyd Mayweather would do to a Mike Tyson because everybody always says Mike Tyson would destroy Floyd Mayweather. Okay, well let's see. Roy is a sort of not as good defensively sound Floyd, but he's good enough. Okay, a lot of people say that Roy was a better fighter than Floyd was in his prime. I even heard Max Kellerman saying that over and over. I never thought so. Fundamentally speaking, I thought Floyd was much more fundamentally sound fighter. I thought he was a better fighter and more consistent and better fighter than Roy, and improved in the long term. Well, Roy was a lot more exciting than Floyd. A lot more exciting. A lot more, a lot more offensive spectacle to Roy. You know, Roy was always much more flashy, than Floyd was. But when it comes to fundamentally sound boxing and not just fundamentally sound, but also Floyd to me reminds me of Michael Jordan. Were there basketball players more flamboyant than Michael Jordan? Hell yes. Penny Hardaway, Vince Carter. I can think of a bunch of them that were, but the durability, the creativity, the consistency of Michael Jordan. There are very few basketball players who are like that. And then you think about also, just the way how he did his playground stuff. It was just phenomenal. So solid, fundamentally solid. And he was a little bit dirty, but fundamentally solid. And that was Floyd. Roy was like a Penny Hardaway. He was like a Vince Carter. Unbelievable in his own right, but not fundamentally sound all through his game. So that's what I got to say. I'm gonna catch you guys later on what you need. Tracy McGrady as well. Tracy McGrady was phenomenal, phenomenal, everything. I'm gonna catch you guys later on what you need. Peace. We'll see the results of Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. very soon. And we'll find out did Tyson just knock Roy out or if it went 8 rounds.